Our first guest is a financial strategist, social entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of the Nyamwange Foundation, an organization with its primary focus being improving urban cities one child at a time. And it's through scholarship, leadership development, empowerment through self identity, and community service, building a generation of leaders who positively influence others with empathy and advocacy. Joining us to share more is Nyamwange Foundation founder Joseph Nyamwange. Hello and welcome, and I'm like so glad that I got it right.
That was awesome. That was awesome. That was awesome.
We're talking about the pronunciation of his last name and the name of the foundation.
Yes.
And you want people to pay attention.
It's a staple. It's a staple.
It's a staple. I think you're like putting people on attention.
Most people wonder, what is that?
We're going to work on your articulation, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, we are so honored to have you. Loving the work that you're doing. We are all about leaving things better than you found them.
Sure.
Obviously, you're a great example of that. But let's just share with everyone your journey before we talk about this wonderful scholarship that you've just implemented into your programming.
Yeah, so look, I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey, born and raised and bred. I'm actually a first generation individual. My parents came here from Kenya. And look, I grew up in a city where I realized a lot of things weren't easy. It was just, what we were exposed to a lot is just folks in my community who are just struggling or striving to do better.
Right.
But our family kind of said, hey, look, if you work hard in this country, you do some of the right things, you could be in a position to help people. And I think that evolved into, God put me in a place where, look, I'm fortunate to have resources and access. And we made it our life's work to go back and make sure that we're doing our part, just like you said, to make sure that we're leaving the world better than we found it. And so that's kind of like really my story. And that's what kind of, the foundation evolved. It's more of a manifestation of me saying, this is the legacy that I'm going to leave back to the world.
So let's talk a little bit about the financial literacy aspect of it, because that's really the key component in any business, in anything that anyone is striving to accomplish. So I know let's talk about the benefits of what the scholarship offers, because I know there's a mentorship component to
Sure.
it. But I want to know from your background what you feel really has been the driver to your success.
Yeah, so they're probably two different things. I think in terms of the reason why we started leaning in on the financial literacy part, it really came from when we started evaluating or looking at all our applicants. There's a part of the application where people have to share their family income, and I would say majority of people's household income was less than $20,000 a year. Now, I can give you a
Here in New York.
Yes, well, New York
And
metro
Jersey,
area.
right,
Correct. For the people who applied. Now, I can give you a scholarship to college. But if we're not addressing the elephant in the room, the impact's not going to be as much. And that's where, me and my family said, look, we got to do more. Now, the reason why, my personal story to kind of answer to your question was, as much as I did well going to school, going to college, I kind of fit the mold of like what success really looked like. The reality is I was
What is the mold of what success really looks like? In your eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But the thing is, Rhina, it's evolved, right?
Right.
I grew up thinking that if I went to college, got a degree,
Right.
and I had the perception of wealth, I was good.
We're talking about wealth from a materialistic
Correct.
perspective,
But
right?
it was all wrong.
Uh-huh.
It was all wrong. And there were two components. I think one is, of course, making sure you're making the world better, you're doing the right things. That fulfillment is key.
Right.
But in terms of like resources and ownership, it's something I never learned. So, what kind of my personal story is, I remember back in 2013, I found myself, even though I looked like I had everything together, I was broke. I was $100,000 in debt. I had no access to ownership. And
When you say broke, you're referring to the financial
aspect
right,
of it.
because there's wealth and resources.
Correct.
Right, and that's what we're discussing right now.
Correct.
Right.
And that hindered my ability to make impact. Because think about a lot of people who try to give back to the community, they don't have a lot of resources to give back. And so I find myself, how can I be in a space where I can give back and I don't have the capacity to? And so we made some fundamental shifts in my personal life that I got out of debt. I put myself in a much better financial position where now I could take the money that I make, go back to the community. And so we added that as a layer to all the mentorship programs that we have. Say, look, not only are we going to make sure these kids are leaders, but we got to give them the financial tools, or at least the resources, so that when they grow up, they could become a people of ownership, to become a people of impact and make a difference. And so that's kind of where the financial part kind of comes into this as well.
Right. So we're going to go back to your story just one more time,
Yeah,
because
of
I
course.
want clarity in how it is that this whole program was developed. And while you shared a little bit, what you didn't share is you found yourself in this like astronomical debt.
Yeah.
And so what is it that that assisted you in coming out of it?
Yeah. So look, I remember, well, first off, when you get into a situation where you're desperate and you're like feeling pain,
Right.
there's that desire, like, I got to fix this.
Right.
And we kind of coined it as like the road to recovery. I'll be honest with you, there's so much information out there. It was hard for me to pull, like, all right, well, is it real estate, or is it stocks, or is it, get a debt trade? There was so many things. And I think one of the areas that I struggled with was being able to kind of get that one place to go to get these things. And then in addition to all of that, it wasn't just about like the resources part. Nothing really took into account the story of like the African American, the systemic challenges that we dealt with. Like, that's a real traumatic experience.
Right.
And so now here I am looking for something that talks to that, but at the end of the day also point me towards purpose. And so, to be honest with you, what ended up happening is I started writing down, I started documenting. And I said, look, if I don't see it, I got to make sure we can create something that's for our people, that points people towards purpose and brings everything together. And so there was a lot of things. I remember even sitting with my wife, and some nights we cried and said, yo, look, we're going to figure it out, but we put a plan in place. And that's kind of how we evolved. And we listened to people like Grant Cardone, Dave Ram, and we put a whole bunch of pieces together, and we kind of cling to our faith. And that's kind of what kind of helped us.
So now let's talk about the Nyamwange
Yeah.
Leadership Academy.
Yeah.
Right. So it was formed recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you just honored your first scholarship.
Yeah.
What were the qualifications for that?
Yeah, so we have a pretty robust process. So right now we work with some of the school districts in Jersey City and the New York metro area, and so what we ask them to do is have students at their local school apply. And so when they apply, there's
They have to be high school students.
well, these are 8th grade going into high school students, correct?
Oh, nice.
So they would apply. There's an essay they have to fill out. They need sponsorship from their guidance counselors, and also a sponsorship outside of guidance counselor. And then there's other component of the application they have to fill out. Once they do that, we have a scholarship committee that reviews. I'm part of that. We go through every single essay. We comb through it all, and then we select kind of what we feel are people that we want to pour into in the next 4 years. And so we have these children.
So
from
you're
8th
going to
grade
serve as their mentor throughout their whole high
throughout
school.
the entire high school.
Oh, that's
Throughout
amazing.
the entire high school.
That's amazing. That's a very challenging year for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And then there's the I guess the applicants, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, the person who won this first round is Dominican.
Yeah, yep, Emily. So which was she was one of the sweetest. And matter of fact, I just spoke to her like not last week. So yeah, we went to her school. She applied. She did a great job, just a phenomenal. Her story, her family just came from Dominican Republic, and mom doesn't know too much English, but she's the first one going to college and the first one going far. And so we were part of that process. We took them out to dinner, we celebrated them, we honored them, and yeah. So now she goes to college right now as we speak, and she was one of the first ones that we were proud of.
And her name is?
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah.
And so Emily's major is?
So she's doing speech communications, but she's still kind of figuring out where she wants to go, like 80% of most college kids. But I think where she wants to kind of lean on is speech and communications.
That's wonderful. So now what are the next steps?
Yeah, so for her, one of the things we try to do is keep that bridge gap with them. And so she actually serves as a mentor for future scholars.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So now you're rolling
Correct.
around so that they're passing
That's
it
it.
forward.
That's everything we
coming
teach.
from the actual experience.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
high five to that. I love that.
Yes, it's a big part of it. I mean, look, what we talk about in our academy is this idea of advocacy and taking care of those who may not be as fortunate as you. And it's built into the fabric of who we are. And so, yes, we make sure that they do that as well.
So in conclusion, where do you want to see Nyamwange Leadership Academy?
Look,
let's say 5 years from
yeah.
now.
So we have a bold mission. I think in the next decade, we want to have at least 1,000 students enroll into our program. The program is not just about giving them skill sets and teaching them. There's there's capstones part of that. Like part of the thing we do with the kids, we take them to Africa so we can learn more about their history and so forth. And so there's a big component of that. And so our goal is we want to get more, but we don't want to compromise the quality of the program.
Right.
Like we want to lean in and kind of bridge that gap. And so our goal is really to increase the capacity of it, what we're doing. Already.
I love it. I love it. It's really, really well thought out, and we thank you for bringing it here to our viewers.
Awesome.
And once again,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, sir, for making sure you leave things better than you found them. Everyone, Joseph Nyamwange, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and Nyamwange Foundation founder. If you're interested in more information, you can visit the Nyamwange Foundation at nyamwange.org. And stay tuned because we're open after this.